Let's go fishing, sort of, with Connor Knighton.
The early bird gets the worm. That's why, just before sunrise, Gary Revel is wandering through the woods near Sopchoppy, Florida, to stake out the perfect spot. He pounds a piece of wood, known as a stob, into a promising patch of soil and gets to work. After a few minutes of rubbing the top with a flat piece of iron, earthworms begin to emerge from the earth, where Revel's wife Audrey is waiting to snatch them up. Let me see your haul here.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
gosh.
And a can full there.
That's pretty, so is this a good morning so far?
Oh yeah, great morning.
Back at home, they'll clean and process the worms to sell as live bait. Those who buy them to catch fish may never know how their worm was caught.
A lot of people think we dig them up.
Well, honestly, between the two choices, digging sounds a lot more logical than doing some sort of magic trick that summons them to the surface.
Magic's the best.
It's a process known as worm grunting, and this part of Northwest Florida has been a hot spot for more than a century.
Okay. Oh, that's what we want. All right.
Here's one right here. Look.
Does it work? All right. All right. Hey, buddy. Wake up, worms.
For a long time, worm grunting really did feel like magic. Nobody was quite sure why this worked.
We never give it that much thought.
Really?
Yeah, we was always interested in going fishing. We'd hurry up and get the worms. We didn't care what was going on.
Why
there.
it works, you just know it does
work. We
work.
got to get to the water, you know.
Yeah.
In 2008, a Vanderbilt University study finally demonstrated that southeastern Diplocardia earthworms most likely perceive the vibrations to be a worm-eating mole digging toward them. And 99 times out of 100, the escaping worms would be right. But then, every once in a while,
They go, whoa, here comes the big mole.
And instead they come up to the surface and find you.
That's right, yeah. And they try to get out of the way of me. But some of them do, most of them don't.
Revel grew up worm grunting for fun, then turned pro. While he only works part-time these days, he gets around $20 a bucket. Worm grunting was once a real business around these parts, as our very own Charles Kuralt discovered in 1972.
The casual passerby through Sopchoppy, Florida, watching Jim Rozier at his daily occupation, would surely think he'd taken leave of his senses. But no, he's just doing what a lot of people do around Sopchoppy, grunting for worms.
It was possible to work as a full-time worm grunter.
Can people actually make a living at this?
I do.
But not long after Kuralt stopped by, soft plastic fishing lures started to lure many people away from using live bait. The local worm industry declined, but by then, Sopchoppy had been given a brand.
Yes, worm grunt time down in old Sopchoppy. Can't sing a song but the melody.
For the past 25 years, Sopchoppy has hosted a worm grunting festival. It's an excuse for the small town to throw a big party, celebrating its favorite invertebrate. There's a wiggle fun run, a gummy worm eating contest, a worm queen is crowned, and children get to give grunting a try.
We gotta bring the true legend out. Mr. Gary, come out here and show him how it's really done. I'll give it up for the legend.
If you can inspire some of them kids to learn that maybe an office job ain't what I need, then not say worming, they might take up something like archaeology or some kind of outside occupation.
Revel, who's 73, has taught his son Snap to grunt, but he knows there's not a new generation of professional grunters coming up.
Me and Audrey and Snap's one of the last families that does this, the whole process. And when we done, that's it.
But Revel isn't planning on stopping anytime soon. For him, spending time in the woods with the worms is a way of life.
All your worries will go away. And it seems to be fun and the thing to do if you live in the woods.
That doesn't get old for you?
No. No, I got to go out there and see what them worms is up to.
You wake up curious?
Yeah, I ain't gonna forget about them, not overnight either.
For many of us, tinned fish means a can of tuna in the cupboard. But there's a lot more to it than that. as we learn from Luke, can-do Burbank.
Let's start with the Deans.
Let's start with the Deans. Why not? The classic tinned fish.
For years, sardines have been a bit of a joke.
A double, triple-decker sardine and marshmallow fudge sandwich.
Would you say that sardines need the most reputational repair?
I think they do because
Americans?
of all of those cartoons.
But that's not how they think of them in places like Spain and Portugal, where fish in a can is something they proudly serve in restaurants, as Becca Milstein found out.
I had lived abroad in Spain in college and had gone into these beautiful conserverias and saw rows and rows of beautiful tins of fish, and nothing like that exists in the U.S.
Milstein wants to change that with her company, Fishwife, just one of a number of outfits hoping to convince people to spend serious money on not canned fish, but tinned fish.
It's a little more delicate, a little more special, and a little more premium.
Anna Heasel wrote an entire cookbook about it. Well, as much as you can write a cookbook about pre-cooked fish. According to a market research company, last year, tinned fish sales rose to $2.7 billion, driven largely by younger consumers.
The tinned fish hashtag on TikTok now I think has like more than 91 million views. It is a very social, very visual hobby, but there's also kind of this aha moment when you pull back the tin and you get to see the actual handiwork that went into packing all of those mussels or anchovies or sardines.
That's Wes Taylor's handiwork you might be looking at, or at least the people who work in his cannery in Bay Center, Washington.
The facility like ours is unique. It's crafty, it's artisanal, it's small. We're not using heavy equipment. What we're doing is focusing on highest quality and not necessarily a high volume.
Becca Milstein reached out to Taylor, desperate to find someone who could put the relatively small amounts of sustainably harvested seafood that she sells, sometimes down by the seashore, into cans.
Give it
I'm
a whiff.
smelling it. It smells very fresh. It doesn't smell overly fishy.
Yeah, so it's very, very, very simple. It's just sardines and some preserved lemon, so it's actually packed fresh and preserved in the canning process.
What do you say when folks say, well, if I'm going to pay $17 for a piece of fish, I can just go to the grocery store and buy an actual piece of fresh fish?
There's so much tinned seafood now that you can buy that ironically is almost a fresher way of experiencing that seafood, because sardines are fished out of the water and in some cases canned within hours.
With their long shelf life, Heasel says one way to think about tinned fish is like a nice bottle of wine you save for a special occasion.
I am very excited about a tin that I just got of barnacles. They look like dinosaur legs.
But seriously, is this all just a fad? Becca Milstein says no. She named her company Fishwife for the industrious, tough women who've sold fish in the past, something she's hoping to do long into the future.
It's something that people have been eating for hundreds of years. So the trend that we're experiencing right now is the beginning of the new era of tinned fish.
Morning rush hour moves at a different pace in the Arctic outpost of Bethel, Alaska. More than 400 miles from Anchorage, the only way to get there is by boat or plane. But in Bethel, travel is still an obstacle. The main road is a frozen river 6 months out of the year. And along that seasonal path, native Alaskan Lori O'Brien treks in search of the key ingredient to her generations-old dessert.
Oh, nice out, nice day.
We drilled through a 4-foot sheet of ice, baited a hook, and then waited for a bite.
Oh my God, I do have one on the bottom here.
That's pretty good. Your very first pike.
My first pike. Pikefish. Not exactly something you'd expect to find in a dessert, but a key ingredient in agudak, also known as Eskimo ice cream. Like most traditional native dishes, it features only ingredients hunted and gathered.
Of course, I've been doing this ever since I was born.
Ever since you were born.
Yeah.
How many years young are you?
84.
84 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Village elder Esther Green still uses a recipe passed down by her mother.
What is a gurak used for?
As a dessert to eat with fish, and the oil helps you physically to stay healthy.
Of course, no two households make a gurak the same way. Lori O'Brien has her own approach.
And we just measure with the palm of our hand.
So far these don't look like ingredients that go in an ice cream.
Oh no. For someone who knows what ice cream is, like vanilla or chocolate or cookie dough ice cream, this doesn't look like making ice cream.
The first tedious steps are boiling and deboning the fish. Once clear, the mixing begins.
We add the seal oil
and reindeer fat. After about 30 minutes, Lori adds our catch of the day.
And we have about a 10-day window to...
And locally picked salmon berries, named for their color, not taste. The final ingredient is snow from the backyard.
So here is Eskimo ice cream.
It's surprisingly sweet. The berries are what I taste most. I can taste the fishiness of it too. It does not taste like Haagen-Dazs.
It can't be found like Haagen-Dazs either.
Where in town, what store can I go into to get some?
It can't be bought in the store. It goes back to your senses and your palate. When you have a food that only your mother made, it brings you back to those times. It connects you back to your history.
Here's what it looks like. If you know your food, how to get it, where to get it, how to handle it, you have plenty of food to eat.
And hopefully, plenty of Eskimo ice cream.
The forecast in Utah is a bit fishy. Connor Knighton explains.
Misty mountain mornings in northern Utah are sublime. The birds are chirping, the sun is shining, but the far-off hum of a propeller can signal a shift in the forecast. Because in Utah, that sound might mean it's about to start raining fish. Every year, hundreds of remote lakes in the Uinta Mountains get an infusion of fresh fish straight from the sky.
There's nothing that teaches you how to do this.
You don't learn fish dropping in flight school, no?
No.
Pilot Craig Hunt flies a small Cessna stuffed to the gills with thousands of tiny passengers. His job is to get them all to their final destinations, even if there's a floating human in the way.
When the lake's really narrow, I have no choice, and I drop the fish, and I have hit people with the fish.
Do they think it's the end of the world?
No, they think it's pretty cool. It's usually people that are out there fishing.
Putting fish into lakes just so people can take them out of lakes is a strange thing our species does. It happens all across the country. But the terrain in northern Utah presents some special challenges.
Up here in the Uintas, there's 650 lakes that we have fish in, and only a fraction of those that we can access with a vehicle.
Ted Hallows is a hatchery supervisor for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. This is where the journey begins for the fish that are stocked in alpine lakes. More than 1 million a year raised at this facility, in trays and tubs and tanks.
And it doesn't take long
Oh,
for them
there
to
they go.
figure it out.
Lakes near the road can be stocked with a truck. For all the rest, an airplane is actually the easy option.
You know, in the olden days, before 1956, They used to take pack horses with milk cans, and they used to take them all summer to do like 30 or 40 lakes. We can do 50 or 60 lakes in a morning.
It's a process that begins early in the morning, just as the sun is coming up. Hallows and his team measure out loads of trout into specially designed compartments. A set of switches up front controls the drops. The plane can hold around 14,000 fish total. As soon as it's full, it takes off into the mountains, and then the process repeats all morning long.
We're getting 1,200 fish, 10.4 pounds.
Each lake receives a specific allotment of fish.
You don't want to put too many in, because then you're overpopulated and they wouldn't be able to survive. And if you put too few in, then the fishing could fish them out.
These young fish won't be caught for years. Thanks to their small size, they can easily survive the splashdown. Once they're all grown up, they'll look more like this.
I'm happy with that. Thing is fat.
So fun.
Getting out to these fish can be just as challenging as catching them. Anglers hike miles into the backcountry.
So what's the furthest you've ever hiked in for a lake?
Oh, sometimes 8 or 9 miles. It should be good.
Hallows and his son Hunter have been fishing together in the mountains ever since Hunter was a boy. During the pandemic, families have flocked to Utah's lakes. The state recently broke its all-time record for fishing license sales. For Hallows, those numbers represent an opportunity to get a new generation hooked. The way he sees it, he's helping stockpile memories.
It's a pretty scenery. It's unbelievable. But if you can take your kid in there and catch trout, that kid will remember that for the rest of his life. We're creating memories for families and kids that they'll never forget.
Yeah, that's a pretty one.
Time for A Fish Tale, as told by our very own Steve Hartman.
At this secondhand store in Baltimore, we found a first-rate fish story. A couple weeks ago, someone posted a picture of this bizarre chair on a Facebook page called Weird Secondhand Finds That Just Need to Be Shared. And when Syracuse auto mechanic Emily Del Favaro saw that chair, she about had a cow. Because of what's on her calf. And here's the truly amazing part. Emily never owned the chair. She just saw it once, years ago, and felt strangely compelled to have it tattooed.
That's the fate about it. I saw that chair and it was everything for me.
You make it seem almost mystical.
I believe that it is.
Almost like you have to get the tattoo and you don't know why.
Exactly.
But answers were coming. After she posted a picture of her tattoo on that Facebook page,
I was like, oh my God.
hundreds of women in the group felt a call to action.
It belonged to her.
You felt like Emily had to have this chair.
A chair like that and a tattoo that matches, it's kismet. Like, it's serendipity. It just has to happen.
So, even though none of these women had ever met, they started a GoFundMe, raised $600 to buy the chair for this total stranger, and then devised a plan to personally deliver it.
Perfect fit. First, Jen Gerard picked it up in Baltimore, drove it to Meredith, who drove it to Marianne, and so on, up Interstate 81 more than 300 miles. Sarah Edwards carried the precious cargo on its last leg.
It is very similar to driving my children home from the hospital the first day they were born. Nervousness, excitement.
I can't even comprehend why anybody would want to do something like this for me.
It's a legitimate question.
And it very quickly was not about a chair anymore.
It gave me something that I needed and I didn't know I needed.
I think a lot of people are looking for ways to connect and looking for any excuse to connect. And if it's a fish chair, it's a fish chair.
That's right. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Clearly, kindness can take many forms.
We're a fellowship. We're a fellowship of the fish chair.
But the best kind of kindness is always that random act
Oh my God.
that somehow makes people believe again.
I did not need the chair, but I did need to be reminded that kindness lurks in even the weirdest little places.
All we need to do is fish for it.
Sarah, you did great.
Something's fishy at a busy Tokyo market, much to the delight of restaurant patrons all over town. Seth Doan now with a very pricey fish story.
It's the fish, the knife, and a little rice. There's not much else.
Eating fish is kind of our part of life.
A part of life?
Yeah.
At his Tokyo restaurant Isana, chef Junichi Onuki told us something surprising. In this fish-obsessed city, some customers even expect the seafood to come from a certain market. That market, called Tsukiji, is Tokyo's largest. It's packed with every type of seafood imaginable, from bright-colored octopus and shrimp to king crab and tiny sardines. Chef Onuki is usually here by 8 a.m., searching for inspiration.
I found this squid. Let's make some tempura tonight.
You're creating the menu as you shop.
Yep.
More than $4 billion worth of seafood passed through Tsukiji in 2013. This island nation of Japan has less than 2% of the world's population, but consumes 10% of the world's fish.
I'm from Chicago. We have Lake Michigan, so I mean, we have fresh seafood, but nothing like where it looks like the fish just got out of water and then you just like sell it. It's amazing.
Alana Tooley is a teacher and foodie.
I had salmon and super fatty tuna, which I love. Like I would marry it and just eat it every day.
30,000 tourists a year come to see the giant tuna lined up for auction. It's poked and prodded to determine value. The fattier tuna and the tuna with a bigger belly will generally fetch a better price. This fish comes from all over the world, as far away as Australia or South Africa. Tuna regularly sells for tens of thousands of dollars for a single fish. Last year, one bluefin set a record, selling for $1.7 million. The biggest fish that was sold today at the tuna auction was bought by you.
Yep.
Are you proud of that? Toichiro Ida, who sells to Chef Onuki, paid $40,000 for a single tuna on the day we were there. That's hard to believe.
But we don't get much profit. Like our average profit is around 20%.
Bluefin can be up to 10 times more expensive than other types of fish, but restaurants sell it to draw in customers. Have your parents done this too? Are you
Yes.
second, third generation?
I'm the 8th generation.
8th generation. Little has changed at Tsukiji in its nearly 80 years, but within 2 years, this market will likely be torn down and relocated as part of a modernization plan ahead of the 2020 Olympics.
We can't do this job without Tsukiji Fish Market.
Junichi Onuki says sushi's simplicity is what makes it so difficult to master. But at the very center of it all is getting the freshest fish.
This morning, we're going fishing with Elizabeth Palmer.
Just a hint of food can start a feeding frenzy at the Niigata Koi Museum.
They look fierce and determined, partly beautiful and partly scenes from a nightmare.
They can't bite, though. Their teeth are way back in their throats. In fact, koi carp are loved and admired, especially for their size and bright markings. With the right food and care, they can live for decades. In traditional Japanese art, they are graceful symbols of luck and longevity.
Originally, wild koi were nothing like these. They were mostly black and used for food in the Japanese countryside. But about 100 years ago, farmers began to breed them to bring out the colored markings.
What began as a hobby became big business. Japan exported almost $50 million worth of koi last year.
It's almost like magic, you can say, to create a fish like this. And then
Ben Plonsky is president of Laguna Koi Ponds of California and a judge at the annual All Japan Koi Show in Tokyo. Basically, it's a fish beauty pageant that draws connoisseurs from all over the world. This yard-long female won Best in Show.
So when you were judging this, what were you looking for and what impressed you? Size, I get it.
It's a fish first, so it has to have good body conformation, and you can say bone structure.
And of course, those colored splotches.
And the pattern needs to fit the fish, like on the face area, it needs to be like a cute face, maybe a hat or a beret, something kind of cute and unique, because this is his face. This is where he greets you. Right. So this is what you first see and fall in love with is their face.
In winter, snow blankets the mud ponds of Nishigata in northern Japan, where baby koi start out. But breeder Shigeyoshi Tanaka has moved them, now mature, safely indoors.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, many favorites in here.
In Japanese, they're called nishikigoi, brocaded carp, like swimming jewels.
Just try to touch.
But they're simpler to admire than to wrangle.
She don't like it.
She doesn't like me.
But she definitely knew a safe pair of hands. Tanaka's koi are famous, and a group of buyers from Thailand have arrived to make an order. Once upon a time, most koi customers were Japanese. No longer. These days, many of the best fish will be shipped to the U.S., which is the second largest koi importer in the world. Why is that? Partly it's space. America, unlike Japan, has room for koi fish ponds.
She's cute.
But there's something else. Just ask Ben Plonsky.
Come here, look at baby. They're so gentle. There's plenty of people who love dogs and love cats and a lot of people who love fish.
Seduced by that old koi charisma.
The raw fish and rice delicacy, known as sushi, has rarely been more popular. But the traditional Japanese restaurants that helped put sushi on the map are starting to disappear. We get the cold facts from Lucy Kraft in Tokyo.
When we stopped by last January, Chigusa Sushi was still hanging out its cotton shingle as it had for 85 years, beckoning the famished to a tiny counter to feast on delectable morsels gathered at dawn from the seafood market. We take pride in our tuna, Chef Haruo Gakuhari told us. We never serve frozen fish, only fresh. Chigusa was where locals savored a sense of community as much as the handcrafted jewels of salmon roe and raw tuna.
How has the sushi business changed over the years?
In the old days, there were 30 sushi shops in this part of Tokyo, he said. Now, we're the last one. But this summer, as the pandemic raged, Chigusa's elderly staff finally called it quits, among dozens of local sushi eateries closing for good in 2020. Eating Chigusa's lunch are brutally efficient mega chains like Kurazushi. Here, customers seat themselves using screens that operate by simply pointing without actual contact. Next, patrons scan a digital code with their own smartphones to download menus and order food, which is whisked to their table. Paying via self-checkout, customers consume entire meals without ever coming into contact with restaurant staff. Kurazushi has dumped the sedate etiquette of the old sushi counter for a raucous carnival with a shooting gallery, prizes, and an endless series of games. Lest diners get bored, novelties like cheesecake and onion rings are constantly added to the menu. If this seems like the McDonald's of sushi, it's no accident. Kurazushi, which is launched in the U.S., aims to double in size to 1,000 locations by 2030. Sales are higher than before the pandemic. We aim to be on a par with global fast food chains, says spokesman Hiroyuki Okamoto. Even before coronavirus, soaring fish prices, a manpower shortage, and competition from the big chains had wiped out more than half of traditional sushi restaurants, according to a government survey. And with most owners at or near retirement, the pandemic is accelerating the demise of neighborhood sushi. Unrepentant, the big sushi chains argue they are the true heirs to Japan's sushi tradition. Back in the 19th century, sushi was sold from outdoor stalls, a cheap and filling snack for the masses. The chain spokesman said, "We want to be accessible to everyone, so we charge just $1 a plate." Handcrafted sushi is becoming a luxury. Offering dramatic decor and wine pairings, Sushi M places its chefs center stage.
Some sushi chefs, they practice in the mirror to see what they look like from the customer's perspective.
Food writer Melinda Joe calls this performative cuisine.
It's not like the customer is always right, as we think in the US. You are meant to enjoy the piece of sushi exactly as the sushi chef has intended it to be served.
Artisanal sushi, needless to say, is priced accordingly. $200 for the tasting menu at Sushi M. I talked to another food critic. He was saying we're going to see dirt cheap theme park style discount volume places, and then we'll see the kind of place that we're in right now, which is catering to the quote unquote 1%.
That's the trend. It's certainly something that we're seeing already happening.
For most Japanese, sushi is becoming a commodity, not fashioned by craftsmen, but cranked out by robot.
If everyone is only eating at these kind of cheap sushi places, no one really starts to learn about the beauty of the art form of sushi.